you. Those are the babies that they've been able to bear from this place. But as they celebrate 25 years of existence, we want to understand what is really so unique, what is so important that as Ugandans can celebrate in as far as how the facility is going to be celebrating 25 years in August. Of course, we understand today there is going to be a launch in Kampala, but we just want to understand what really is contained in the 25 years of having this facility exist. I am joined by the executive director of Ngamba Island, that is Dr. Joshua Rukunda, to just paint for us a picture of what really is going to happen in the celebrations that are ahead of us. 25 years. Good morning and thank you for joining me on Morning at NTV.
Good morning, how are you doing?
25 years of Ngamba Island. What exactly can the public understand that you want to celebrate this year?
Well, we want to celebrate 25 years of conservation of the chimpanzee as a species, 25 years of advocating for the protection of the chimpanzee, 25 years of reduction of capturing of the chimpanzees and the pet trade specifically, 25 years of reduction in the bushmeat trade, and then look into the next 25 years, looking at protection of the habitat specifically, and most especially coexistence with these marvelous animals.
You started with only 11 chimpanzees. The last time we were here is when the rising water levels were threatening the island. Just paint for us a picture of how it is now. The water, I think, must have receded.
Yes, the water receded, but we of course did take measures to protect the island, to protect the sanctuary, because most of the damage is not really the water coming, but the waves whenever it would have a storm. So we've built a beautiful gabion wall, which I'm sure you've seen, and that has given us ample protection. It still allows the water to move freely, because as environmentalists, we don't want to create a situation where we are not allowing natural things to happen, but at the same time just protecting the sanctuary itself and the area where the chimps are staying.
Raising water levels, COVID also came along. We understand the island survives on the well-wishers that give food to these chimpanzees. Generally, the situation after the two.
Yes, during COVID, it was a wake-up lesson for very many of us. But I would also like to thank both my board and my predecessor, Lilia Jarova, because in 2018, when we were celebrating 20 years, we launched what we call the Endowment Fund, which was looking at the long-term sustainability of this sanctuary. We know that many of these chimps will have to stay here for the rest of their lives, and how are we going to be able to care for them literally indefinitely until the last one probably passes by. So we started the Endowment Fund, which we launched at the 20th anniversary, and that fund has helped us to slowly collect resources which remain in an investment, and hopefully with time we'll build it to a point where it will be able to sustain all the operations of Ngamba. But even then, in COVID, we benefited a lot from a lot of generosity of both Ugandans and also international donors. In that year alone, we increased our reach and people who are viewing our pages, maybe because now they were home, by almost 300%. So we also almost doubled in donations in that time. And what we are now struggling to make sure we do is maintain those donors. Because those are the ones that are going to contribute towards sustaining this sanctuary for the foreseeable future.
You start with 11 chimps, now you have 52. What does that show you as the people that are keeping these chimps?
In the beginning, there was a lot of trade in primates, and particularly in chimpanzees. Again, because we share the same DNA, 98.7%. So there's a lot of demand for them. There's demand in cosmetics industry, laboratories. They have done all kinds of tests on them. And why? Because physiologically we are similar to humans, whether it is testing drugs, whether it is testing vaccines, whether it's testing reactions or adaptability to environments, whether it is testing extremes of environments. They have always used other mammals, but ultimately the chimpanzee, because it will mimic what would happen to a human being. It will mimic how a human being would respond to a drug, to a vaccine. So the pet trade has been a lot at that time. And then,
25 years, okay.
Yes, at that time there was a lot of export of chimpanzees, so many of them were getting confiscated and being taken. At that time it was called the Entebbe Zoo. That's where they were being rescued from. But now that was not a place where they could be. The facilities at that time were not good. And then an idea was mooted to have a sanctuary. These were popping up all over Africa. And because Uganda at that time was a hotspot even for trade for chimpanzees that were even coming from outside Uganda. That led to the idea of Ngamba being set up. So we started with about 11. Then when we opened to the public, there were now about 19 chimps. And over the years, we are rescuing between 2 to 4 chimpanzees every year, until more recently. But like I said, we're doing a lot of efforts, especially in creating awareness, in advocating for strengthening of policy and structures to ensure that especially the pet trade reduces. And we are proud to say that we are now a model within Africa. Some of these problems are no longer happening in Uganda and in East Africa. Yet in our neighborhood, just in the DRC, the primate trade is still thriving. They are still having incidences of a lot of trafficking of these chimpanzees to other areas, to Asia, to the Arab states, to wherever. But here in Uganda, we've been able to contain the situation, and that has come from a lot of our efforts collectively with other agencies, both government, local NGOs, and ourselves, that have come together and advocated and pushed for the reduction of illegal wildlife trade.
We understand that you are launching this in Kampala today, but 25 years, I know you're looking at maybe a series of activities. What are some of those that you're going to have?
We've been doing a series of activities since early this year, in February. We've started doing virtual tours, especially for many of our supporters in Europe that would love to be here, but they're unable to be here. So we've organized virtual tours where we have live sessions and question and answer with the guys who actually do the work, the guys who understand these chimps, the caregivers, and children, adults, donors, interact with them in a live session and get asked all kinds of questions. And that way we increase the awareness of the chimpanzee itself. We shall also be having a number of other activities. Every month we want to have a virtual tour, we want to have something. We've had a tree planting campaign in Chikube, which we did last month. We are hoping to revive the Chimp Challenge, which used to be there as one of our fundraising activities in the past, to remind people, because this year it's really about celebration. We don't want to focus too much on the fundraising. It will be there, but we'll also be doing a lot of celebrations of the achievements that we've been able to have. We'll have a cocktail at some point. We're going to be honored to host Dr. Jane Goodall, who will be specifically coming to celebrate with us the 25 years, because she was very pivotal in getting the sanctuary started. The sanctuary started as a project of the Jane Goodall Institute before it finally was taken over by the Chimpanzee Trust. So they are vested in us. They are on our board as permanent members. So she will be coming to support us as she has always done. She came when we were celebrating 10 years. She came to be with us when we were celebrating 20 years. And she will be with us as we celebrate 25 years. We will have a public lecture that she will give. This is a first in Uganda. She's been doing this all over around the world to create awareness and also to fundraise for wildlife, not just only the chimpanzees. We will also be opening a Roots and Shoots office. Roots and Shoots is a program that is very close to our heart. And they will be opening an office at the zoo at UWEC, Uganda Wildlife Education Center. We'll be having a series of so many activities, and we are...
Okay, but then now when you'll be celebrating this, what we want to know is how easy or hard for someone to come to Ngamba Islands, because I know many people are associated with the chimps. How hard or easy is it for one to get here? It
is pretty easy to get here. It is only 1 hour away by boat. The only challenge is that transport on the water is still a big challenge in Uganda. I know it has improved over the years, but we do pray and hope that there will be more vessels that will be available, especially government vessels that will ease transport on the lake. But other than that, we have our own boat. We have other private entrepreneurs that are increasing at least the number of vessels on the lake that bring people to Ngamba. So we accept visitors at least twice a day, in the morning and in the afternoon, to come and view these beautiful chimpanzees and to learn a lot more about chimpanzee conservation and environmental conservation as well.
As you're going for this launch, I just want to give you 1 minute of what you'd want to tell the public about Ngamba Island, just as we let you maybe go for the launch in Kampala.
Yes, Ngamba Island has been a model sanctuary in Africa for the last 25 years, and we continue to be a model sanctuary. And it's one of the attractions in Uganda that many of our own local people don't know about. Ngamba Island attracts about 5,000 visitors every year. It is still a small fraction of the total number of visitors that come, but it's on most itineraries. But it's a pity that a lot of Ugandans don't know about this, and a lot of Ugandans don't come to visit.
That's what I was coming to. We're in Mkono. How do you even give the local people around time to have a look at this and so that they can relate with them?
For example, we have a program especially for the local communities that immediately surround us. They are our partners, they are stakeholders, they have helped to keep Ngamba what it is. And for them, they have every Sunday they come here for free whenever they wish. That's and also nice. They have big days which we block off completely to other visitors, that is Christmas, New Year's. Where they come and also help to celebrate with us those lovely days. So it has helped to maintain that close bond with the local communities. They provide for us a lot of security, a lot of intelligence that also helps to protect the chimpanzees as they're in the forest, and also to better relationships as we look at the problems that we face as islanders in Mukono district.
Well, for time reasons, we will leave the conversation here, but the executive director, thank you so much for making time to speak to us.
And thank you again for coming over this morning.
Well, Chris and Priscilla, if I can just take you in a brief, you have animals here. Actually, it's like a government. If I can just put it into simple terms, you have the one that commands over all these chimpanzees. You have those that are assistants and the rest. And the names that are written here are actually so local. I have seen Kalema. There is someone called, what is it? I'm seeing in Uganda. Kalema there. And they should, actually, what I want to say is that the names written here, some of them are for those chimps that we relate to 98.9%, and they say we look alike. I don't know if you can ever have time to come to Ngamba Island. I'll speak to the executive director to make sure that you and the audience that is watching this can also come and look at these chimpanzees. Their behavior is the same. Actually, I've just been here a few minutes and I've seen how the administration is done, especially when they are being fed. You don't take food that is meant for a child. The behavior is the same. But of course, as they celebrate 25 years, we also continue to urge the public out there that these animals need protection. The protection may not be from us, the protection may not be from anyone else, but if they have the best way to stay and enjoy themselves, that's what it means to coexist, we and the animals. But of course, the conversation will continue. We'll look up to the launch. The executive director has given us a hint of what is going to happen in 25 years of celebrating Ngamba Island. Time reasons, I want to get out of the conversation. Good morning to you and our audience.
You're watching Morning at NTV.